What's up guys, it's Kyra and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am back with another Makeup for Beginners series video. And this one is going to be kind of a continuation from the last one, which was all about highlighting and how to apply it. First of all, how to pick your shade, how to apply it, where to place it, all that good stuff. And ultimately how to prevent under eye creasing. So I did that video. And then of course, naturally after highlight comes bronzer or contour. I will go in depth and discuss the differences between bronzing and contouring, but you guys know me, I'm definitely all about bronziness. So basically in this video, I'll show you guys how to apply cream and powder contour bronzer and show you guys where to place it and how to blend it out, and basically how to get the look that you want without changing or altering your face shape, and of course how to make sure that it does not look muddy. That's like the number one thing when it comes to contour, is that you do not want your contour to look muddy. Just hopping in here, so I've already kind of done my entire routine. I prepped my skin, did some SPF, some moisturizer, did my primer, did foundation, highlight, set the highlight, and now is of course again time to go in with our contour or our bronzer. Now, what is the difference between bronzing and contouring? Everyone has a different definition of it, but I can tell you guys that in my opinion, bronzing is more so the act of just adding back in some of that warmth to your skin. Okay, so look at my face right now. Once I've applied foundation and I've highlighted, my face is still kind of flat. Like the highlight helps a little bit because it kind of attracts light to those areas. However, the perimeter of my face looks pretty flat for the most part. There's no dimension. There's no anything, and that is what happens when you apply foundation. Whenever you apply foundation all over, it covers up and evens out your entire face, which means that you no longer have any of that natural, you know how your skin naturally has highlighted areas and naturally has contoured areas, but whenever you apply foundation, it essentially blankets that entire area. It makes it all one color and, you know, removes any of that dimension. So that's why hiding and contouring or bronzing is very, very important, because it helps to bring back that dimension and that shape to your face. In my opinion, bronzing again is more so just adding back in warmth to your face. Okay, so like for me, I just love a good, you know, warm sun-kissed kind of finish. I don't really need it to be super structured, super defined, because my face is naturally not that structured and not that defined. Like I don't really have super sharp cheekbones. You know, I don't really have really defined features. So I don't really want to make my features super defined even with makeup on. Now contouring is like a little bit heavier than bronzing, and you'll see what I mean in a second. But typically whenever you contour, you use a bit of a deeper or a darker shade than your bronzer. And whenever you're contouring, the whole purpose is to really sharpen up and distinguish those features. And when you do that, you typically use a deeper or a darker shade. I don't like to go too dark, again, because I just like more of a softer, warmer finish versus a heavier, more contoured, more defined finish. So that's more so the difference between bronzing and contouring. Again, for me, I just prefer more of a softer finish, so I do bronzer. But if you like more of a heavier, you know, finish, you know, more heavier features, you want everything to look really nice and sharp and defined, then you'll want to do contouring. Here is the Maybelline Super Stay Foundation Stick, but this is in the shade Mocha, I believe. Yeah, it's the shade Mocha. And here is the color. Okay, so it's probably about 3 shades darker than my skin tone. It's very, very deep. These are really creamy. They're great drugstore alternatives for contouring. But as you can see, again, it's really, really deep. Now, this is something that I would use if I wanted to really define those features or do more heavy contouring, okay? But this will really make my features more shadowed or more contoured, because again, the point of contouring is to basically detract light. Like you want them to make more of a natural shadow versus attracting light with hiding, okay? So I would use this for contouring because it's really deep. You know, it's gonna make my features really, really distinguished. However, I normally don't like to go this dark, okay? Again, I prefer more of a softer finish. So this is about 3 to 4 shades darker, okay? My go-to bronzing cream product is the Haley's Beauty Foundation Stick in the shade 7.25. And as you can see just here in the tube, you see how this is actually really close to my natural skin tone? That is what I would consider to be a more bronzing product, okay? So here's the difference. Here is the Haley's Beauty, and here is the Mocha Stick, okay? So again, I tend to go here in this family because this here is going to give me, it's going to give me some warmth. So it definitely will bring back dimension into my face. However, it's not too deep and it's not too heavy. And I can achieve that with something that's about 1 to 2 shades darker, like the Haley's Beauty, versus this one here, which is the Maybelline Mocha foundation stick. Now, you guys know I've been doing it more so in my videos more recently here, using cream products. However, 9 times out of 10, I do not use cream products. The only time I really use cream products is if I'm going to be going out at night. And the reason why is because using cream products shows through flash, okay? Honestly, what I have noticed is that the cream products show up best with flash, okay? So if you're going to be using flash at night, you want to use some sort of cream bronzer or contour for it to really, really show up and give you the full look that you want. Again, you can use it during the day and at night. It's totally personal preference. But for me, this is just an extra step that I really don't like to do unless I need to do it. Makes sense? Now, when it comes to powdered products, I actually tend to lean a little bit cooler, okay? And the reason why is because, as I mentioned before, whenever you're applying contour or bronzer, you want to naturally detract light or even kind of create natural shadows. So even here on my hand, neither one of these has a really warm finish or undertone, okay? They both tend to lean a little bit on the cooler side or even more neutral. I can do neutral, but I don't want anything that's too red or that's too orange because I don't want my face to look too red or too orange. Like my face naturally, yes, it has yellow and golden undertones, but it's not naturally red or naturally orange. And even whenever I get a suntan, for example, I don't get red or get orange. I just get really, really tanned and, you know, darker. But I don't look red or orange. So I don't use a red or orange bronzer or contour product. Makes sense? I tend to lean a little bit more on the cooler side just to create those natural shadows because, again, shadows tend to be more cool toned. My favorite go-to, you guys see this all the time, but it is my MAC Studio Fix powder in the shade NW48. Now, you see how NW48, again, kind of leans more to the cool side. Okay, it's not red, it's not orange, so it's not gonna make my face look really strange. Whenever I apply it where I'm supposed to, like, you know, cheekbones, forehead area, it's going to create nice natural shadows. So just look here. You see how that color, again, leans a little more cooler. It's not that far off from my skin tone. Again, I don't like to go too dark, you guys. That's like the running theme here. I don't like to go too dark. But you see how this here is not too orange, not too red. It's like the perfect shade to create some warmth to my skin without making me look red or orange. I don't look like a Oompa Loompa walking around here, okay? I want it to look very, very natural. Now, another favorite of mine is the Balm Take Home the Bronze Anti-Orange Bronzer. Looks like this. And here is the shade. And as you can see, again, it's not too red. It's not too orange. I mean, the name says anti-orange because you don't want to bronze or warm up your skin with a orange or red undertone powder or a cream product, okay? So even here, you see how that is a little bit cool. You know, it's perfect for adding natural shadows to the skin. So you want to go for something that's a little bit more on the cool side that can create natural shadows. So now in terms of actually applying the product, I'm going to be using the Haley's Beauty. And this is pretty straightforward, okay? So what you want to do is, first of all, find your cheekbone. I don't know, I tend to start with my cheeks first. There's not really a specific way to do it, but I tend to just do my cheeks first and then work my way around my forehead later on. So find your cheekbone, okay? So your cheekbone is up here. There's a bone right here, okay? And that is where you want to apply the product. Now, one of the most common mistakes that I see women make is applying their contour too low, okay? So my cheekbone is here. And this is where I should apply the bronzer. However, many people apply it like down here, okay? See difference here versus your actual cheekbone. And you want to keep your cream contour right at the cheekbone. It's so important to keep it up there, you guys, because that is your natural face shape. You don't want to elongate your cheeks or make your cheeks look fuller and wider unless you just want to go for that look. But naturally, if you want to keep your natural facial structure, you want to apply the product right at the cheekbone and bring it inwards, like follow that bone inward. Okay, so here's the cheekbone. Just applying this right there and bringing it inwards. Okay, I don't go too far down low. It starts to look really, really crazy. And also, as I mentioned again with highlight, you want to have somewhere for the product to blend into. So if I were to bring this all the way down and I started blending, it would be all in my cupid's bow, all in my lip area, all in my chin. It would look crazy. So kind of bringing it down here and stopping about halfway along my cheek. It's kind of like, you know, right about here. That still leaves me room to blend it out and not look crazy. Okay, so same thing over here. You have our cheekbone, the actual bone right there. And just bring it down, follow the cheekbone, and do not go all the way down because, again, you want to leave space for the product to blend into. Okay, so we have it stop again right about halfway along your cheek. Okay, and then for my forehead, I just make light strokes around my forehead just to warm it up. And remember what I said in my hide and contour video. If you have a larger forehead, you want to highlight less and contour more. And if you have a smaller forehead, you want to highlight more and contour less. So I have a bit of a larger forehead, so I'm going to contour a little bit more. And just bring the product in a little bit more. So whenever I say contour more, that just means bringing the contour product in a little bit more onto the forehead. Versus if you had a smaller forehead, you would keep it like right along the hairline. You can even apply it down here on your chin if you want to define that more or cover up, you know, any areas like a double chin, anything like that. Okay? And then last but not least is going to be our nose. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky because honestly, I'm not a huge fan of a heavy nose contour. You guys know that, unless of course I'm intentionally creating a heavy nose contour for whatever reason, like I did in the Jordan Woods video. I specifically did that because I was following the picture. But you guys know, for the most part, I keep my nose contour pretty soft. I don't like to really see the lines or like see a really heavy contour there because the nose is to me where it can get the messiest and where it can get the muddiest. So I take my Huda Beauty foundation stick. And you can either just go straight in with the product and just draw a line. So I'll do the product just going straight in with the foundation stick on this side. And then I use a brush on the other side. So if I were to go in with straight just the product, I would just take it real lightly. And follow my nose straight down like so. Okay? And then just bring it up just a smidget. Okay? That's what I would do. Again, it's a really soft line. It's not too crazy there. And I didn't apply too much. But normally I'll just take a brush. This is an angled brush. It's actually a medium angled shading brush from Sigma. It's the E70. And I'll just take some of that product on my brush and then use this to create that contour. And this to me is the easiest way for it to not get too crazy and to soften that product out so it doesn't look too harsh. But you see how this is a lot more easier and more controlled versus using this big old jumbo foundation stick to apply to my nose. This is just way too big for me, and I just think a brush is way more precise. So if I did go in with the foundation stick and just apply that directly to my nose, I would just take that same brush and just blend it out. And this is the easiest way for me to blend out my nose contour. I find it to be a bit more difficult to blend out the nose contour with like a beauty sponge or something that's a little bit fluffy, just because I prefer a more controlled tool like a brush. So again, the whole point here is to leave the top of the nose, the bridge of the nose, free of product because we've already had it there. I like to kind of clean up the tip of my nose, so I'll kind of go like this just to create a natural shadow contour there. So I'll do that to get rid of my really round bump there. Again, we're adding shadows. And then I'll drag it up the side of my nose and just drag it up into the crease of my eye and into the front of my brow. Okay? This is where a good contour starts. right here in the socket, and then bringing it down, and then also bringing it up into the front of the brow. So you see how we have some nice definition there. I did not at all change the shape of my nose. I just defined my nose shape. Okay, and so now what I would do is, just to remove any excess product, I would take a damp beauty sponge, again, press it together, okay, and then just go over that area to remove any excess product and blend it out even further. But the key here is to avoid shifting or moving the product along onto the top of the bridge of the nose, because again, you want to keep that area free of product. Okay, so you see how just doing that softened it even more, and that is what I like my contour to look like. I hate a really heavy, sharp, muddy nose contour. I want it to look nice and seamless and natural. And then the rest of the face is pretty simple. I'll just take like a really soft, fluffy or stippling brush. This is the Wet n Wild stipple brush, I believe. It's like $2 at wherever. Actually really good. It's my favorite for blending out my contour because it's just so easy to work with. And also I will note that this Haley's Beauty foundation stick, again, I keep mentioning that it's my favorite one, but I love it so much because this is so easy to blend out. Like, just watch. Okay, so stippling brush, just taking this and it's blending the product out. Okay, now all I'm doing is just using sweeping motions, nothing too fancy or too crazy. I just want to blend the product in and also, of course, get rid of any harsh lines, okay? Now, that took maybe like 5 seconds, and you see how easily that blended out? That's a combination of this brush and this product. I'm telling you, it's just a bomb combo. And again, same thing, going over that area to remove any excess product, and also just further blending out or blending in that product, because you don't want any harsh lines. So same thing on the cheekbones and the sides of the face. So here I'm using more circular motions because I want to kind of blend this upwards, okay? Because the whole point here is that whenever you're blending out the contour or the bronzer along the cheekbone area, you want, again, for it to fade from the light, which is the highlight, into the bronzer. That does not mean to blend your contour or your bronzer downwards. Think about it. If you want them to marry well and to mesh together flawlessly, then you want to fade it more upwards. If you start blending this out and fading it downwards, not only are you completely defeating the purpose of highlighting and contouring, because you're making your face longer, making your cheeks wider, and making this part down here more muddy. Like, you're actually going to be shifting your cheekbone from up here to like down here. You don't want to do that. The whole point is to blend this out and to blend it into the highlight, because you want it to fade in naturally. Again, that's the key, is that you want it to all be nice and soft and natural. So I'm using circular motions, but I'm using motions going upwards to blend it all in flawlessly, like so. And you see how now we have some warmth there, but it still looks nice and natural and not too crazy. That's exactly what we want. So same thing over here. So I'm using circular motions, but circular motions going upwards, okay? I'm not dragging it down whatsoever. Like, I'm basically keeping that product above this line, okay? Like, I don't ever drag it down below where I initially applied it. And again, you see how we've added some warmth there without it looking too harsh or too crazy. Again, had I used this, it would be much, much darker, and it would take a lot more blending. So again, for like the millionth time, use one that's not too far off from your skin tone. So one more time, beauty sponge, and just press this in to remove any excess product, and then further blend in your bronzer into the skin. And what I'll do also is, a while ago, I believe it was like last year, I actually did a whole highlight and contour do's and don'ts video. And in that video, I actually showed what would happen or how it would look if you used a darker contour product versus a more natural or a softer bronzing product. So I will link that down below, because that's actually really good to be able to visualize what would happen if you use both. But for this video, I want to focus more so on the actual application, how to pick the shades and where to apply it, and of course, how to blend it out. And then what I do before I move forward with applying my powder bronzer is I do like to go over my entire face with a skin tone face powder. This is the MAC Dark Mineralized Skin Finish. And this just helps to set the remainder of my face. So remember that whenever we applied our highlight and we set it, we only set the areas that we applied concealer at. So I do like to go over the rest of my face with a skin tone powder to set my foundation in place, and also of course to help control my oil. So taking that dark powder and then stippling this all over, and this is what you want to do in order to control that oil throughout the day. All about layering, especially if you have oily skin. So that's done. Now whenever it comes to applying my powder bronzer, you can use either or. I have in the past loved using my MAC 109 brush. This is a flat top brush. It's really great. And it's also really precise. So if you want to really carve out those cheekbones, this is great for that, especially for getting like right in there. This is great. I more recently have preferred more of a bigger, fluffier blending brush, just because, again, I am focused more so on adding warmth versus like really adding more so definition. Okay, some days I will reach for this if I want like more of a really, you know, structured cheekbone, but usually it is this one here, and it is the Laura Mercier bronzing brush. So taking my MAC NW48 Studio Fix powder, I'll just tap it in there on the side. The key with this brush is that I use the side of the brush, not the top of the brush. I only use the side because this is what helps keep it controlled. Okay, so I just tap the side of the brush and then just lightly pat it along wherever I applied that cream bronzer. And again, I'm just using the side of the brush. Again, same thing, side of the brush, and just tapping it along my forehead. And this is essentially just reinforcing that cream bronzer, because again, it's all about layering. So again, same thing, side of the brush, and just pressing that in. And that way we can add warmth without it looking too structured, or, you know, like I would just prefer more of a softer, more flawless, more seamless finish all around, including cheekbones. So I prefer more of a fluffier brush to apply it. I want it to be nice and diffused, and so this brush here helps me do just that. Okay, go back in with that same brush that we used to apply your skin tone powder, and it's gonna go over where the highlight meets the bronzer, just to make sure it's all nice and married naturally and seamlessly. And then lastly, you cannot forget to reinforce our nose contour. So my favorite brush to go for is this brush here. I've had it for years now. It's the Sonia Kashuk contour brush out of my Target a while ago. I love it. And I'll just take that same Studio Fix powder in NW48. Now, this is where I go really light, because you've already applied that cream product there, which you can see. But of course, I want to reinforce it with powder, because you guys know my nose is where I get the oiliest the fastest. My nose looks like a grease ball within like hours. So I basically have to reinforce that nose cream product, because if I don't, this will start to look really greasy real fast. So taking this, and again, same thing with the Laura Mercier brush. I don't use the top of the brush. I don't use this part here. Okay, I only use the side, not the top, but the side. I just find that the sides of the brushes give me the most control. So I love using the side of the brush to control where I'm placing the powder. Okay, so going with the side of the brush, I just take it and just drag it along the sides of my nose. Same thing on the side. You cannot forget here at the tip of the nose. And then I can even take this, kind of diffuse that side a little bit more if I apply too much. And I always go over the sides of my nose one more time, just to make sure that it's not super harsh, because you guys know I hate a harsh nose contour. And you see how I instantly softened that nose contour? Well, that is exactly what we want. Okay, so there is our finished highlight and bronzer / contoured look. I'm going to go ahead and apply some blush and some lipstick off camera, and also some highlight off camera, and I will come back with the final look. All right, y'all, so I went ahead and finished off the look, popped on the lip, apply some blush, some highlight, some inner corner color there, and some mascara to my lower lash line, and here is the finished look. So even just looking at how I looked at the beginning of the video versus how I look now, you see how just adding in some nice, soft, natural warmth to my skin not only helps to bring back some dimension to my face, but it really helps to pull your entire makeup look together. I just feel like I can't highlight without bronzing and contouring. Like, to me, they go hand in hand, and as you can see, it makes a huge difference. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this makeup for beginners contouring versus bronzing edition. Again, I will leave down below my highlight and contour do's and don'ts video. It is a bit old, but it still has such great information that I believe will be helpful for you guys, as well as figuring out how to really contour and bronze and pick the right shades, you know, for your skin tone. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, give it a thumbs up, and then also let me know down below what makeup for beginners video I should do next. So I've done primer, I've done color correcting, I've done foundation, I've done highlight, I've done contour. What I don't really know what's next. So you guys let me know what you guys want to see next, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye guys.